Well, good morning, scientists. So today, first thing, I wanted to review a few things about the moon phases. So in this image here, this is from the NASA website about the moon. So if you go to the solar system and go to the moon, they have a whole lot of great little short videos, about a minute and a half long, about the moon phases and eclipses. So I'm going to show you one right now, and I'll also put a link on today's announcement how to get to these. So let's say right here, we've got a full moon, and that was on March 5th. So I can click the little slider here, and as I click through, I can see there's less and less of it being lit up. So we have the waning phases. So we have where almost all of it's lit up. We'd call that a waning gibbous because there's less and less of it. And as I keep going through the days, like right here, this is today's date. So we have the third quarter moon. It's in the last of its quarters coming around. And then we get a waning crescent, which in other words, that means it's gonna be a new moon very soon. And then we get a little tiny sliver of a crescent, and sure enough, now we're on a new moon. So on May 19th, I think I said March earlier, on May 19th, it'll be a new moon. And that's when you start the lunar cycle all over again. So we usually say we start the lunar cycle, it begins and ends at a new moon. So that's the moon phases. Now the moon also goes through eclipses. So if I go over here and scroll down, they have a nice little picture of the moon going through its phases where you got in the background there, going through a lunar eclipse. So now to demonstrate, if I have my little Earth and moon over here, so if I have my Earth model and I've got my moon, so if let's say we had the sun was, let's say this light over here, and if the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, the moon's shadow will land on the Earth and cause a solar eclipse. Now, the moon is much smaller than the Earth, so the moon's shadow only covers a small area on the Earth somewhere. So that shadow, that being small, not everybody sees the solar eclipse at the same time. You have to be in that shadow. So if you're in that shadow, you'd actually observe a solar eclipse. That's why a solar eclipse is very rare to actually get to observe. Now, on the other hand, let's say if the moon continues its orbit around over here, and now the Earth's shadow falls on the moon, then we have a lunar eclipse. So the lunar eclipse is when the Earth's shadow falls on the moon, and the Earth is much bigger over here. So the entire shadow of the Earth covers the entire moon. So the moon is completely covered with the shadow. Like we could see here on the picture here, the moon becomes more and more shaded during a lunar eclipse. So that's an example between the two of them. So solar eclipse is when the moon's shadow falls on the Earth and the sun gets blocked out. And a lunar eclipse is when the Earth's shadow falls on the moon. So there's the sun, where the Earth is in the middle, and we can't see the moon because it's covered in shadow. So solar eclipse, we have the moon's in the middle. Lunar eclipse, the Earth is in the middle. So that's going to be one thing that you're going to see on the test. And I'd say while you're doing today's work, draw a sketch. Make a little sketch where you've got where are the sun, the moon, and the Earth to create a solar eclipse, and where are the sun, moon, and Earth, how are they arranged to make a lunar eclipse. So those are the things to work on today. So main thing about the eclipses. I'm also going to put a link. NASA had a really good little video here about eclipses that I'll show you. It's real brief. It's like about a minute and a half. So there's the brain pop to watch today and do the quiz. And the quiz is on Canvas, by the way. Don't do the brain pop quiz. You could do that one to practice, but that's not for a grade. The one that'll be grading and looking at will be the brain pop quiz that's on Canvas. So do the Canvas questions there. Also, there's a link where it says Eclipse Slides PDF. Look at that. There's only like 3 or 4 slides. There's not too many. You might actually want to draw and sketch the pictures that I have there. They're nice and simple, easy to sketch. Use those on the test, use those on the quiz. That'll be a big benefit to keep in your notes, and don't lose those. So anything you're writing from those slides, any notes you keep them all organized in one spot and then use them on the test on this unit. So again, this unit's going to include everything about the moon and moon phases, eclipses, and tides. So tides is what we're going to get to tomorrow. So all that stuff is going to go together, and then you'll use that on the test next week. All right. So speaking of the moon, did you know that some of your classmates are actually named after the moon? So if you happen to know a Luna or a Celine, those names actually mean the moon. So if you're out there, Luna and Celine, you're named after the moon. What do you know? All right, so I think that's about it. I don't think I have anything else. On the NASA link that I have there, there's actually another really cool thing about the Artemis project here, about sending astronauts back to the moon this decade. So check that out. I'll put a link to that on there as well. I was having fun reading about that and looking up about how the rockets work and things like that. At the end of the year, the last week or two, we're going to be learning about space exploration. So we'll kind of come back and talk a little bit more about that. But since we're learning about the moon, talking about landing and exploring the moon, we're going to get to talk about the Apollo missions when they went to the moon back in the 60s and 70s. And humans have not been back to the moon since 1972. That was the year I was born. So they're talking about going back to the moon in the year 2024 or somewhere later than that. So sometime this decade, they're going to get back there. So it's been a while. So that's it. Again, today, look at the Eclipse slides, watch the brain pop, do the brain pop quiz for practice, and then do the quiz that's on Canvas that goes with it. So that way I know that you understood. If you have any questions, please, anytime, inbox me. Let me know what I could do to help you. All right? So stay curious.